Hello and welcome to the TechBytes audiocast. My name's Tim and I'm from the TechBytes blogazine, and with me is Dr. Roy Shestowitz from the TechBytes website.
It's Friday night and I'm gonna get sauce. I fought the troll and the troll lost. I fought the troll and the troll lost. He tried to boss me and was outbossed. I fought the troll and the troll lost. I fought the troll and the troll lost. Underneath his creeper bridge, hoping goats will cross. Quoting Ashcroft and Tom Ridge, I fought the troll.
Hello and thanks for downloading episode 26 of the TechBytes audiocast. It's Monday, January the 17th, 2011, and it's myself and Roy again tonight. Today we've got quite a few interesting topics. We're going to be looking at the usual news from Microsoft and giving our views on that. We're going to be looking at Stuxnet and whether it's created by America and Israel, and have a little discussion around that subject. And also the £98 PC. There's a PC coming onto the market very shortly for £98, and why it's great news for Linux users and advocates around the world. So we'll go into detail of that in a minute. Since usually I start the show with Roy or Gordon coming on, I thought today I'll introduce the first topic, which is basically the title I've just given you, which is some news that's come in today. Very interesting for UK residents, and certainly it's something that's very close to my heart, but as a Linux advocate for so many years and installing it on so many new machines. And that is the £98 PC. For UK residents, apparently there's a considerable amount of us that still aren't online, and the government, usually getting it wrong when it comes to matters of IT, but in this case maybe has an idea that's a bit of a winner here, is introducing the £98 PC. It's basically formed a few deals with a few companies, and is hoping to provide a very cheap PC to get people that aren't fortunate enough to have the internet in the home and have to use it at a library or an internet cafe, and get them online and get them used to using computers, because the government is pushing for as much of the UK as possible to have an online presence. Why is this good news for Linux? Well, the Linux operating system is going to be provided on the platform apparently, and it's going to be an open source software platform as well. There's a few articles about this, and there's still a lot of questions as to how it's going to be funded and who's going to be footing the bill. But from the early reports which I have, and all these links will be cited on the TechBytes show notes, it appears to be not funded by the government at all. It's going to be funded by local business. There's a recycling firm that takes PCs and refurbishes them and brings them up to a standard. And it's going to be using these PCs, obviously, to sell for £98 a piece for people that maybe can't afford to have a computer that's internet ready, or maybe don't know how to go about getting onto the internet. The other part of the deal is it's going to be offering an internet connection for between £3 and £9, with the service provider free. So it's going to be a very cheap way for maybe people who don't have a lot of money to experience computers, get online, with the added bonus of a Linux distribution. What that Linux distribution is, we don't know yet. Like I say, there's many unanswered questions, but this was announced today, and there's been quite a few press releases by Martha Lane Fox, who's the champion behind this campaign. So for once I'm saying hats off to the government and one of their ideas. And Roy, I don't know if there's anything you want to mention about this.
In the news, to be honest. I've been extremely busy so far today trying to catch up with patent news, which is something I concentrate on as much as I can. But from what you told me, and I haven't actually heard anything about it until we started the show, and you mentioned that. It sounds a bit like what France was trying around 2007 or 2006. I had a person send me a scanned copy of a one single page or 2 pages, I think the centerfold of the New York Times, and that was a plan from France to distribute these computers based also on Linux to connect people to the web. It's advertised as trying to get people on the net. I usually joke about it. It's trying to get people to give their details to Facebook or something like that. It's just a convenient way of getting people to be on the matrix, so to speak, and you can put more government services on the web and use web forms instead of things like fax and whatever. So the first thing I think, and I haven't actually seen any articles about it, I didn't really know about this, is you have to check and see how committed they stay to it in about a month or so. Because sometimes it's been announced, and some PR firms make some noise about it, and the press is very happy about it, but after a while there isn't really and absurd machinations to kind of drive things forward and actually get things to be pushed to people. And also in the UK, there was something that was called, I think, simplicity or something, where the IT is kind of capitalized, and that was advertised by one famous British lady, an actress. Is this the same person by any chance?
No, I don't think so. I remember that because that was a PC aimed at the elderly, wasn't it? Or
Yeah, and it was kind of insulting to some people, as though old people cannot use the same computers, and I think it was based on Mint, which of course is based on Ubuntu, which is based on Debian.
You know, Roy, I'd completely forgotten about that.
That's my point. You see, it kind of completely went off the radar. I haven't heard about it for almost a year now. I haven't heard a single thing about it. I haven't seen a single person using that. The other thing I was going to say, as you said, the price, £98. I suppose that includes a screen, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. Because in 2005 in the UK, I bought an EC PC, which cost me, if I remember correctly, including tax and everything, £165. It did not include a screen, but it was a brand new PC. And it was reasonably okay. It came with Mandriva installed on it. It worked fine at the time in 2005. I put Ubuntu on it. Actually, first I put SUSE on it. Then later on I put Ubuntu on it. And that was before, of course, Novell deal. So that's 2005. So SUSE was my favorite distribution at the time. So £98, if this is correct, or if you put it in dollars, I'm not sure how weak the dollar is now, but I know the pound is also pretty weak. So let's say it's like at least $150. It's not a great price.
No.
I think the internet connection, it's quite the feature, and I think it's intended to be more of a, I'm not sure if there is a company or a franchise supported by the government to do that, but it kind of sounds to me like it's more about the facility of being connected to people or being on the matrix, so to speak, more than the PC is just a utility.
It's got quite a few conflicting stories about it at the moment. Certainly the initial press release I heard today on the way to work on a local radio station, which was that the government has no involvement in any of the funding. There's no government or taxpayers' money going towards this project. It's been one set up purely by partners, whoever they were.
Yeah.
However, looking at other sites, it appears that it's 830 million that they have of public funding to help this project. So that's one of the grey areas for starters. The second is the quote of the 9.2 million British adults who it claims don't have access to broadband, i.e. in the home. I don't know how accurate that figure is anymore. But the other thing that puzzles me is the internet is going to be provided apparently by two of the sources I'm going to cite on the show notes, by the company 3, between £3 and £9 a month. Now, obviously a £98 PC is great. The idea that it has a Linux operating system is great, but I was wondering if the price, when you add the £98 and the £3 a month, let's say it's 5, take a rough average, £5 a month for internet access is actually that good. And I know if you look at some of the mobile phone companies, when they offer a new mobile phone contract, you can pick up a free laptop machine, which is usually a reasonably spec'd brand new machine, as part of a 12-18 month contract for not a lot more than £98 plus £5 a month would work out at. So it does beg the question whether this is such a great idea when it's a refurbished PC at the end of the day.
Does it include an insurance? Obviously, we're not trying to market this machine. It sounds a bit like we're trying to sell this thing, but I think it's an important proposition, because if this is actually the case, so these are all chipsets and everything else, and not all machines are built equally, so you have all kinds of mixtures of things like memories being thrown in, and I suppose there is a standard kind of spec of a range of CPU speeds, things like the amount of memory you have to ensure each machine has, but if you actually use old machines, then there is no way it's going to run Windows 7 as far as I can tell. So even if Microsoft said something like, well, we want to block Linux and we will give you for free latest operating systems, I don't really see this being fitted onto a very old machine, or at least not working quite so well. So then you need antivirus software, you need all kinds of stuff. And I suppose the last thing they want is to put people online to basically say, well, we support the British people by giving them a virus, kind of. But trying to give them something that's very simple to use, and I don't really know what distribution they might use in this case.